Hello dear CMA aspirants from South India. As you all already know, Akash Agarwal Classes has launched for you all 100% English lectures in English for CMA Foundation students giving their examination in December 2025 and onwards. So here I am going to tell you how do you enroll in the batch. You just have to join our WhatsApp community which is given in the link. Fill up the Google form again given in the link and to download our mobile application Akash Agarwal Classes to access the notes. You all know the lectures which we are going to conduct will be 100% covered. There would be no subject which we are not taking care of. So we are going to take care of each and every subject, each and every concept. We are going to take MCQs for you. We are going to provide test papers. We are going to take live mentee sessions as well. Lectures which we are going to take for you all are 100% recorded lectures and not dubbed lectures. And you all know we have exclusive team ready for you all to teach you for your CMA Foundation December 2025 attempt for subject wise as well. And we are uploading the lectures on a weekly basis. All the important links which will be useful to you all are uploaded in the description box. Since we have many students who have cleared CMA examination at all the levels from Akash Agarwal Classes, and to reciprocate the love which we have received from South Indian students, we are here for you all taking lectures 100% in English, so that we can clear your CMA Foundation December 25 attempt together. So keep studying, do watch all the lectures till the end, and do show some love by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and putting up a word in the comment box. Keep studying. Bye-bye.
Hello to all my dear CMA Foundation students, and yes, welcome back to Akash Agarwal Classes, the site Professor Nikita Oswal. And yes, in this session we are going to start with your paper number 4, all about your fundamentals of business economics and management. So like, yes, if I talk about the subject, basically the subject is for 100 marks. This will be your paper number 4, that is business economics and management. This will be for 100 marks. Matlab basically your economics will be for 70 marks, which means you will be having 35 questions, each for 2 marks, right? Also, if you talk about management for you will be for 30 marks, which means you will be having 15 questions, each for 2 marks, right? This means that you will be having total 50 questions and your paper is for 100 marks, right? So this is basically talking about your paper number 4. If I talk about your paper number 4, in your study module, in your study material, they have given 4 different study notes, and I have divided basically this 4 study note into 8 chapters. I have divided it into 8 chapters. 4 chapters will be of micro and 4 chapters will be of macro, right? And from this sessions, the very first which we are going to start is your macro part, which is very important, just because students ignore this topic, students ignore the subject, right? Not subject, I'll tell, the students ignore this topic. And yes, I don't want my students to ignore it, because it is completely a theoretical part, it is completely an informative part, and people feel it very boring. So yes, I've started with the macro wala part. I'll be starting with the macro wala part, but going forward we'll see the 4 chapters which I have done, and I've bifurcated in the form of micro and macro. So if I talk about micro, the very first chapter will be Introduction of Economics. I want you all to write this chapter's name. Your second will be Theory of Demand and Supply. Your next chapter will be Theory of Production and Cost. and your last chapter will be your chapter that is market. This I have bifurcated completely in the form of micro, and in macro again there are 4 different chapters. One is your money, next is your bank, next will be your money market, and your last chapter will be business environment. All in all, I just want to say that I have divided into 8 chapters for you all. So this is going to be very important. As you all know, this paper is completely your MCQ based, and for your MCQ based, it is very important for you all to know the concepts, right? So we are heading forward with the very important topic in taking into consideration, that is macro part. So we are going to start with money chapter and followed by all other chapters, and later on we are going to start with the micro wala part. So all the very best to you all, and yes, hope you like the video, and also hope you like the lectures, and do like the video, do share it with your friends, and do subscribe the channel for many more strategic videos, also many more lectures for you all. So yes, this is very important. Basically this is your index, and you need to keep on you need to write it, because after that also you have management, which is for 30 marks. It is having 7 units. So the bifurcation of the 7 units will be given when I'll be starting with the management topic. But for now, as of now, we are going to start with your economics. So all the very best, and let's learn with a very, very, very interesting examples and everything. So all the very best. Hello to all my dear CMA Foundation students, and welcome back to Akash Aggarwal classes. This side Professor Nikita Oswal, and from this session we are going to start with your macroeconomics. As you already know, your economics is divided into 2 parts, right? Your economics is divided into 2 parts. One will be your micro session, and second will be your macro wala part. So from this session, from this lecture, we are going to start with your macro part, which is way important. I'll show you the past paper also, and then you'll get to know that why your macro part is important. Before starting with the macro part, I so know that this has been a theory subject. It gets difficult at times to revise it, or it gets bored because it is a theory subject. So yes, you don't have to worry about it. You just have to attend the lectures with me. You have to make sure that you be with your book, you be with your pen, highlighters and everything, so that I make you mark the important points, which will be definitely very helpful for you to attempt your MCQ session exam. And yes, make sure that you have your book with you, that is your institute study material with you, because the macro wala part will be covering completely from your institute book. So yes, make sure that you have your institute book with you. Right now, the second part, that is your macro wala part, you have to make sure, you have to understand that this gets thoda sa difficult. Like see, in micro what happens is, in micro what we do, it gets easy to recollect. If price is increasing, the demand will decrease. If price is decreasing, the demand will increase, and all everything we get with the practical examples and everything like that, right? But in macroeconomics, obviously it is procedure based. You have to keep some things in your mind, because you cannot change it. It is completely a fact based thing, right? So don't worry, you just attend the lectures with me, and make sure that you study every day, you revise every day whatever we have done in the lectures, right? So let's start now. The macro part, which I have divided the macro part in more 4 chapters. That is, your first chapter will be money, which we are going to start from the session. Your second chapter will be bank. Your third chapter is obviously money market, and your fourth chapter will be economics and business environment, right? Now, if you go as per your study material of institute, that is, if you go as per your module of institute, which we have got from institute, kindly note clearly, right? In your module, they have divided into 2 study note, that is your study note number 3 and your study note number 4. And this two study notes, I have divided the chapters into 4 different chapters, right? So that it will be very easy for you to recollect. It will be very easy for you to understand that which chapter is more comparatively important and which chapter you have to do on the priority basis. That will be very much important, right? Now, as you all know, as we have already seen and as you all know, MCQ is very important. Many people think that it is MCQ, na? So it is very important, it will go very easy, it is okay. It is not like that. It is MCQ, and for MCQ it is very important that you clear all your concepts. It is way important clearing all your concepts, and on that basis you will be able to solve your MCQ, right? Now, you have to make sure that when you solve MCQ, you have to obviously read your paper clearly, carefully, first of all. Now, this MCQs are been divided into 3 different ways. First way will be obviously the very easy questions. You will be getting the direct questions, very direct questions. Like I'll show you the past paper. You can see your past paper over here. This is your past paper December 2024. And as you already know, your questions will start off economics from question number 51 to 100, where 51 to 85 questions will be of economics, and 85 to 100 questions obviously will be of your management, right? So yes, if you see the direct question which I've told you, now I'm talking in random ways, right, of micro and macro as well, both the things. If you see the direct question, the very easy question, that's the father of economics, the very direct question. So this type of questions you will be able to see in your exams, and you can score very easily. Like this is the peanuts wala marks, right? But this peanuts wala mark will be helpful to you only when you read your concepts carefully, and only when it will be possible for you to completely identify which is the easy question for you people, right? So like this is the direct question. This is the direct question according to economics. Means are what? But to solve this question, you should know what do you mean by means, right? है ना? Like for example, which is the second important factor of production, you know that it is labor, and so these are the direct questions. Then come the second type of questions it is asked to you people, that is like for example, second will be confusion wala question between two option, A or B, C or D. You will be, you know the answer, but at times it can get confused in both the ways. So it will be confusion wala part, right? And yes, third will be thoda sa difficult wala part. Not completely hard, I can say, but thoda sa difficult wala part it will be. But yes, you need to attend your classes with the Akash Agarwal classes, and definitely you will be able to attempt all the questions in your exams. And yes, let's start, won't waste your time much. And let's start with the very fresh topic and the new topic called as money wala chapter. The chapter is way easy, way important, and yes, you must have also seen it in 11th and 12th standard as well at times. So it can be very easy for you, and trust me, it is a easy chapter. And the way we keep on watching the lectures, the way we start with the concepts, obviously I'll show you some important questions as well, MCQ based on your past paper, and you'll get confident about it that yes, we can solve it and we can complete our CMA foundation in a very good way, good manner. And trust me, economics is such a subject that you can score around say 60 above marks. It will definitely help you. So if you're worried about your macro wala parts, need not worry. Just attend the lectures and make sure that you attend it. And whatever we tell you in the lectures, you just attend it and you just make sure that you do it, and definitely you'll score very good marks. So yes, let's start with the macro wala part, starting with the first chapter called as money. Now, what do you mean by money? And before going, what do you mean by money? Obviously, money was not a thing which was existing like long back. The oldest form of money is everyone, as you all know, it is, yes, obviously the barter system. Everyone, a pen or a highlighter in your hand, and whatever I'm marking, you have to make sure that you have to mark. Plus also that at times I'm going to tell you that yes, this will be in your MCQ part, so make sure that you attend it and you write it, so that that will be in your MCQ part, and it will be easy for you to revise it at the time of the exam as well, right? So the first and the oldest money which it was existing was barter system. What do you mean by barter system over here is, obviously barter system is nothing but exchange, the exchange which you do, exchange of goods and services in form of goods and services, exchange of goods and services in form of goods and services. Like for example, there is a person named A, right? Person A is having rice with him, right? And there is a person named B, he is having wheat with him, है ना? So when A is giving or selling rice to B, rice in exchange of rice, B in exchange of rice, or B in return of rice will be giving wheat to A, and this is called as barter system, that is exchange of goods and services in terms of goods and services, exchange in terms of goods and services in terms of goods and services. Keep in your mind, this is called as barter system. In short, if I tell you, where there is no existence of money, where there is no existence of money, we called it as barter system, because there was no involvement of money. Money was not even existing at that time. Then there were some difficulties in barter system. Because of that, barter system had to stop, and many more new money emerged. Like for example, animal money came to existence, commodity money came into existence, then metal coins and metal money came into existence. After that, paper money was there. After paper money, bank money, credit money came into existence. After that, obviously your plastic money came into existence, your electronic money which you are using right now, your GPay and your Google Pay and everything, Google Pay, GPay, so one and the same, Phone Pay, what you all are using, bank transfer, what you all are using is completely existing right now. But this didn't come ekdam instant say. Many other money came into existence. Those money also faced some problems, and because of that, every time new money came into existence, new money emerged, and here we are with the paper money, with the credit money, with the electric money, and with the plastic card money right now, right? So yes, now looking after, there were some difficulties in the barter system. So let's go, what were the difficulties in barter system? Let's see the difficulties in barter system. There was, these are the 5 points which you have to keep in your mind and mark it as MCQ. This will be definitely very much important for you people. So everyone mark it as MCQ. Just a second, let me see what has happened to the screen. Just a second, wait. Yeah. These are the important points which you have to remember. Mark it as MCQ. There are 5 important points. First is lack of coincidence of want. Second is lack of store of value. Third is lack of divisibility of commodities. Next is lack of common measure of value. And last is difficulty in making deferred payments. Come on, everyone, you have to speak with me. Everyone at their home, you have to talk, you have to speak with me. First is what? First is your lack of coincidence of wants. I'll explain you everything, don't worry about it. Yes, but everyone with me loudly. Lack of double coincidence of want, lack of store of value. Third is lack of divisibility of commodities. Fourth is lack of common measure of value, and last is difficulty in making deferred payments. So everyone, again, what do you mean by difficulty in coincidence of wants? It is nothing but, keep in your mind. Now we have started with the example, and we have seen with the example that A is providing rice, he is having rice, and B is a person having wheat. When A is giving rice to B, we have accepted that commodity, we have accepted that good. But when B is providing wheat to A is telling that I don't want wheat, I want something else. I am not interested in getting wheat from you because I don't need it right now. So I don't want wheat, I want something else. So this is called as double coincidence of want. This is called as problem of double coincidence of want. That is, the person A, he is not trying to accept it, or he is not accepting what B is providing to him because he don't need it, right? So this is the problem which have existed in your barter system, and this is the major first reason where your barter system created your problem, and it forced people to get a new type of money. So yes, let's see what it is saying. Come over here, everyone. Under the barter system, The buyer must be willing to accept the commodity with the seller, which the seller is willing to offer an exchange. The wants of both the buyers and the seller must coincident. A don't want wheat. A is saying that I don't want wheat, I want something else. But you are not having else. I don't want wheat, I want something else. So there is no coincident, right? This is called as double coincident of wants. Second is store of value. See, you can store many of the commodities. You can see services cannot be stored, but obviously, but you can store many of the goods, right? And in that, there is a good called perishable good. Can you store perishable good, everyone? Tell me, can you store perishable good? No, you cannot store perishable goods, right? You cannot store perishable goods. So this is the problem which this is the second problem which made people to think about that. Let's end up with the barter system and let's come up with a new type of money. Some commodities are perishable. They perish within a short period of time. Like for example, vegetables, fruits, milk, and eggs. You can say it was not possible to store the value of such commodities in their original form under the barter system. They should be exchanged before they actually perish. Otherwise, they would not be available for exchange when the need actually arises in future. Next is lack of divisibility of commodities. See, you can divide many of the commodities, like you can divide the rice or the wheat and all the things in kgs or in liters. You can divide it, right? You can measure it, right? But there are some things which you cannot divide. Like for example, you cannot divide specifically animals. You cannot divide animals. So this is the first of the major thing that brings again a problem in divisibility of the commodity. Let's come. Dividing upon its quantity and value, it may become necessary to divide a commodity into small units and exchange one or more units for other commodity. That is 1 kg, 2 kg, 3 kg. It is possible, right? But then in case of animals, it is not possible. But all commodities are not divisible. This is particularly true in the form of animals. Let's go again. Lack of common measure of value. As I told now only, you can measure the value, you can measure the commodity in the form of kg and in the form of liters, right? But you cannot compare two different measures. That is, you cannot compare kilogram with liters, है ना? Because the value can be more of liters as compared to kg. Exactly, right? So you have to measure the commodities. When you're exchanging the commodities, you have to measure both the commodities in a common measure of value. But yes, you cannot measure kg with liter. It gets difficult for you to understand that what is the right value of the commodity then, right? And use the under the barter system, there was no common measure of value. To make exchange possible, it was necessary to determine the value of every commodity in terms of every other commodities. Important again. And the last point is difficulties in making deferred payment. What do you mean by deferred payment? Deferred payment is nothing but making payments in future, but how it could be possible in barter system, how it created the difficulty. Let's see, come over here. Under barter system, further payments for the present transactions was not possible because further exchange involved some other difficulties. Like if I come to you, I've given you rice, है and you told that you don't have anything to exchange, but you will be able to exchange it after 1 month. You will be able to provide your commodity to me after 1 month. I come to you after 1 month and I tell you that you were supposed to give me your wheat, you were supposed to give me a commodity, and now give me because I need it. And at that time, if you tell that, bhai, what commodity are you talking about? I didn't make any transaction and I didn't do anything. What will you do at that time? What A will do at that time? So this can be a difficulty in future, right? So it is better to make the transactions right now in barter system. For example, suppose it was agreed to sell specific commodity of rice in exchange for a goat on a future date, keeping in view the present value of the goat. But the value of goat may decrease or increase by that date. This is the second major problem that can happen, right? So these are the difficulties which you have to keep in your mind. Again with me, the first point is lack of coincident of want. Second is lack of store of value. Third is lack of divisibility of commodities. Fourth is lack of common measure of value, and fifth is difficulty in making deferred payment. So these are the 5 difficulties which you have to keep in your mind. And going forward, I will show you one thing which will definitely make you very happy looking after it. Just a second, just hold on for a second. Okay, you can see over here, you can see this question, which of the following is the oldest system of money? So you have the option number 1, A, barter system, next is plastic money, third is credit money, and last is gold. So the right answer is yes, option number A, that is barter system. Now only we have done this and you have scored 1 mark from your. Just a second, hold on, I'll show you one more question, and yes, you will be very happy looking after that question as well, because that will bring you more confidence. Just a second, hold on. Which of the following is not a limitation of the barter system? This is the question which we have done. Not a limitation has been asked. So first option is lack of double coincident of want. It was there, the first very point. Second is lack of store of value. It was a difficulty. It was a problem. Third is lack of common measure of value. This was also a problem. And last is lack of transfer of value. So this is not a limitation, and your right answer is option number D. And by doing only 1 point, we have done the more 2 MCQs and you have got 4 marks over here. So I think you are very much confident, pretty confident about it, that yes, you can solve your questions एकदम easily, आराम से, by just concentrating on whatever we are teaching you people. So let's go with the second topic. Let's go आगे. I hope you all are ready with the same question, same topic. Let's go. Next, we will be doing what do you mean by money. There are many more functions, so let's see the functions, but before that we'll have to see the evolution of money. It was derived from the name of goddess, that is Juno Moneta of Rome. Juno Moneta of Rome, very important, right? Next, you have 3 definitions. We'll see all 3 definitions. You don't have to worry for that, but yes, the most important and the most asked definition is all about Volcker. That is, according to Volcker, money is what money does. This is the very common most MCQ that can be asked to you. High chances, high probability of asking this question to you. But yes, let's go. You can see Robertson have defined as anything which is widely accepted in payments for goods or in discharge of other kinds of business obligation. Second is Seligman. It is defined as money is one that possesses general acceptability. And last is money. Volcker is money is what money does. So this is the most important asked question, most important asked definition to you all. Let's go again. First, we will be looking after the functions of money. Let's see the functions of money. Now see, obviously we have ended up with the barter system. There were many difficulties in barter system, so we have ended up with a barter system, right? So now, to overcome those problems, we have got a new thing, that is money. We have came into existence with money. So the difficulties which we were having in barter system now, those are the functions of your money. You can see over here, you can have a watch over here. The difficulties which we were facing in barter system, those difficulties are completely same as your functions of money. Have a look. There are 3 functions of money. First is primary, second is secondary, and the next is contingent. This is not tertiary. Many students keep on saying that it is tertiary, but it is not tertiary. It is what? Contingent. सबसे first is primary function. Primary functions have 2 functions in it. First is medium of exchange and second is measure of value, right? These were the 2 difficulties which we were facing in your barter system. So your primary function, that is medium of exchange and measure of value. Every point will be seen individual, so you don't have to worry. But yeah, make sure that you complete it, because you can be asked as which is the primary function of money, which is the secondary function of money, which of the following are not the contingent function of money. This is the type of question that can be asked to you people, right? So first is primary function. In primary function, you have 2 functions. First is medium of exchange and second is measure of value. Next, secondary function. In secondary functions, you have 3 options. First is store of value. Next is standard of deferred payments. And third is transfer of money. Next, you have contingent functions. You have 4 contingent functions. First is measurement and distribution of national income. Second is money equalizes marginal utility and productivities. Next is basis of credit, and last is your liquidity. So these are the 3 types of functions of money. Going forward with the very first function of primary functions. So yes, the primary functions of money are really the technical and important functions of money. They are of 2 types. First is medium of exchange and second is measure of value. What do you mean by medium of exchange? Money serves as a medium of exchange. Money facilitates exchange of commodities without double coincidence of one. What does it say? What does it say? Okay guys, listen properly. I am giving you this product. If I am giving you this product, you and me know that what is the price of this product. You and me know what is the value of this product, right? Like for example, this phone is of 50,000 rupees. So when I am selling you this phone, in return you will be giving me 50,000 rupees, which makes it very simple and easy to exchange, right? So this is medium of exchange. Where there is involvement of money, it is called as medium of exchange. Any commodity can be exchange for money. People can exchange not only goods but also services. Obviously what we are providing you is the service. It is just that it is a non-economic activity because there is no involvement of money, but the time, the place where there is involvement of money, that is when you get money in exchange, it is called as economic activity. And yes, your primary function, that is medium of exchange, is all about that. Services through the medium of money. Second is measure of value. The value of each commodity is expressed in units of money. We call it as price. MCQ, market as MCQ. Everyone, mark it as MCQ. Please mark every of the thing which I am telling you. Trust me, it will be very important for you and very helpful to you. In view of this, functions of money, the value of different commodities can be compared and the ratio between the prices of different commodities can be determined easily. Like for example, you know the Parle-G packet, right? If it is the small packet is of 5 rupees. So obviously you want 5, you have 5 rupees and you're giving me 5 rupees. I'll give you small packet only, na? But if you are having 10 rupees, you will give me 10 rupees and I'll give you big packet. Right? Clear? Hello? Yes. So we are done with this 2 functions, major functions. Let's go with the secondary function. Secondary function is talking about store of value. Secondary function is all about store of value. That is, you can store your money. In barter system, it was there that you were not able to store the money. You were not able to store the goods and services, right? Especially the perishable goods, you were not able to store it, hai na? But in money, you can store it in your bank, you can save it, you can invest it, whatever you want to do, you can do it. It is not perishable in either of the ways, right? So the store of commodities and services can be stored in the form of money. Certain commodities are perishable. If they are exchanged for money before they perish, their value can be preserved in the form of money, right? Next, standard of deferred payments. Now here you can do it on the credit basis. That is, you can take money from bank and then in the form of loan you can return your money with interest to the bank in your future ways, right? So money serves as a standard of deferred payments. In the modern economies, most of the business transactions take place on the basis of credit. An individual consumer or a businessman may now purchase a commodity and pay for it in future. Similarly, one can borrow certain amount of money now and repay it in the future, as I've told you the example, right? Easy. I hope it is very easy. Next, third is transfer of money. This is the third point of secondary function, that is transfer of money. Money can be transferred from one person to another at any time and at any place. You people still sitting there at your home, can I transfer from AC to you? Yes, I can transfer. It can be in any way. It can be net banking, it can be Google Pay, it can be Phone Pay, it can be Paytm, it can be through check as well. It can be any way. I can transfer the money in any of the way. Next is last, that is contingent function, in which you are having 4 different functions. First is measurement and distribution of national income. What you can do over here is, what do you mean by national income? National income is nothing but aggregating the income of everyone in the economy, everyone present in the economy, right? And yes, this income can be distributed in different factors of production, that is land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. And from this factors of production we get the reward, that is from land basically we get what we say rent, from labor Yes, you can tell. From labor, we get wages. From capital, we get interest. And from entrepreneur, we get profit. Right. So these are the rewards which we get from the factors of production. And yes, these factors of production can be used with the help of the income as well. So national income of a country can be measured in money by aggregating the values of all commodities. Similarly, national income can be distributed to different factors of production by making payments of them in money. Next, money equalizes marginal utilities and productivity. We have seen na, higher the utility, higher the want, higher the intensity, right? Then yes, this is equal to that is like the consumer can equalize the marginal utilities of different commodities purchased by them with the help of money. They can thus maximize their satisfaction. Similarly, the firm can also equalize marginal productivities of different factors of production and maximize their profits. Basis of credits, obviously, yeah, you know already we have talked regarding the bank system and all, that you can take loan from bank and then you can repay it again by paying the actual amount with the interest part, and yes, you can take it on the credit basis. So it is credited by banks. From where do bank get all such money? Bank get this money from the public deposits their money in the bank, and bank give that same money. They reserve some of the money with them, that is called a CRR. They reserve certain amount of reserves with them, what do we say, all about that CRR with them, and rest of the money they give it as loan. Right. So credit is created by bank out of primary deposits of money. The supply of credit in an economy is dependent on the supply of nominal money. It is not possible to create credit if there is no reserve money. That is what they mean to say, is that bank have to keep certain amount of liquidity with them. Like for example, A have deposited money in the bank, and the bank gives whole of the money to B. Right now, after some days, A comes to bank and A says that I want to withdraw my money. Bank don't have a single penny with them. What will bank do? So therefore, bank have to keep certain amount of liquidity with them, so that the person, if they come to withdraw, bank can give at least some amount of money to them again, right? So that is all about the liquidity as well. Money is the most important liquid asset. In term of liquidity, it is superior to all other assets. Money is 100% liquid. It is 100% what? Liquid. What do you mean by liquidity? Liquidity is like that you can convert your fixed assets into cash very easily. Whenever you want spontaneous way, you can convert it into cash. That is all about the functions of money, and here we are done with the functions of money as well. Hopefully this has been going very smoothly and easy for you all, because yeah, the macro part is actually what we feel is very difficult, but it is way easy, trust me. So let's go again. Let's go further. Here they have given the next point, that is 4 types of money. Same MCQ can come to you people in your exam, that there are dash type of money. So there are how many types of money? There are 4 types of money. First is your commodity money, second is fiat money, next is fiduciary money, and last is your commercial bank money. Also bacha log, you just have to make sure for many more updates and for many more things, like AC is coming up with the English lectures and all. So you have to do nothing, but you just have to join the WhatsApp group, so that many more updates will be coming for you all. Plus also for additional notes which you will be getting in our Akash Agarwal classes application. So that also you will have to download. Plus also you will have to join the batch. Complete details are been given in the description. So go in description and definitely do check. Also, I know there must be many of your friends, so I would say that from AC, I would say that do like the video, do share it with your friends. Whoever want the English lectures, do share with them, and yes, do tell them to subscribe the YouTube channel, so that we are going to come up with many more things, and many more things will definitely help you to clear your exams, right? So just hoping for the same, and yes, let's go. There are 4 types of money assets. Come on, everyone with me. One is commodity money, second is fiat money, next is your fiduciary money, and last is your commercial bank money. Very easy topic as well again. So yes, let's go. What do you mean by commodity money? If I go forward before this topic, I just want to tell you that commodity money is nothing but it is a type of barter system only. Not completely like barter system, but it is a type of barter system. It is near to barter system, where in this type of money we are exchanging the commodity only. There is no interference of money or cash or any monetary terms in any of the way, right? So it is completely a commodity money. It is the simplest and oldest type of money. It is built on scarce or valuable natural resources that act as a medium of exchange. But yes, the commodity money do fulfill some of the functions of money, so it is introduced in the form of types of money. Make sure you keep it in your mind, or else obviously one question will come to you that if commodity is money same like barter money, then why it is a type of money, right? So it is fulfilling some of the functions, you can say, of money, and so it is in the commodity, so it is in the type of the money. So it is the medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. Commodity money is closely related to related to and originates from a barter system where goods and services are directly exchanged for other goods and services. Examples of commodity money includes gold coins, beads, shells, spices, etc. Going forward, fiat money. What do you mean by fiat money? Fiat money is means of, it is a formal authorization where government is, ध्यान से सुनेंगे, carefully you need to listen it, where government give legal authorization to use that money. Just like for example, you are having authorized from the money is authorized from the government, that is you can use 500 rupees note, you can use 10, you can use 20, you can use 50, or you can use 500, 200, 100, but you are not allowed to use 2000. It is not legally authorized. It is not a legal tender money, right? So the permission which we have got, that is the particular money is authorized, that money only we can use it. Either ways, if you use the money which is not allowed to use, you will be eligible to be punished for the same, right? So yes, means of formal authorization and proposition or a decree, that is according to the law. This means fiat money gets its value from a government order. Here the government declares fiat money to be a legal tender. What is it is said that fiat money is a legal tender money which requires all people and firms within the country to accept it as a means of payment. If they fail to do so, they may be fined or even put in the prison. Unlike commodity money, fiat money is not backed by any physical commodity. By definition, its intrinsic value is significantly lower than its face value. MCQ, very important. Some of the fiat money are coins and bills. Also notes and everything, paper money and all is also a part of fiat money only. Next third question is fiduciary money. What do you mean by fiduciary money? Fiduciary means what? Fiduciary means it is done all out of trust. It is done all out of trust, right? It is a relation between two people, trustee and a beneficiary. It is a relation between two people. It is relation between trustee and a beneficiary, right? So here there is no system of legal tender or authorization or everything like that, right? Like for example, if I tell you all about the check, I am giving you a check, right? And that is a post-dated check, hai na? But what happens? I cancel the check from my side and I didn't inform you also. So it is all about, breaking the trust and everything. So where does fiduciary lies? So yes, this is the example of fiduciary. I am giving you the check on the basis of the trust. It is called as fiduciary money. By the term fiduciary, it is meant the involvement of trust, especially with regard to the relationship between a trustee and a beneficiary. That is why fiduciary money depends for its value on the confidence that it will be generally accepted as a medium of exchange. Unlike fiat money, it is not declared, important, not declared legal tender by the government, which means people are not required by law to accept it as a means of payments. Some examples of fiduciary money includes checks.
So yes. I hope you got the fiduciary meaning and you've marked the important points which I've told you already. Next is commercial bank money. What do you mean by commercial bank money? It is described as claims against financial institutions that can be used to purchase goods and services. I told you some things before only all about the bank. Bank takes some money from the what we say from the public, and yes, public deposit their money in the bank, and after that bank give some of the money on the credit basis. So that is called as all commercial bank money. Let's read. It is described as a claims against a financial institution that can be caused to purchase goods or services. It represents the portion of a currency that is made of debt generated by commercial banks. More specifically, commercial bank money is created through what we call fractional reserve banking market. It can come to you for MCQ basis. Commercial bank money is created through what we call fractional reserve banking, which is a process where commercial bank gives out loans worth more than the value of actual currency they hold. Any type of loan by commercial bank may be termed as the commercial bank money. Let's go again. Features of money. Features of money. There are two types of features, very important and very easy actually. First is currency issued by central bank. Second is demand deposited created by commercial bank. This we have seen many times, but yeah, again we have to see because it is there in your study module. Going first with the first topic, that is currency issued by the central bank. Central bank called as RBI now. Before nationalizing, it was called as central bank. After nationalizing, which we'll be looking in your chapter second after this, that is bank, you will see that first it was called as central bank and later on it is called as RBI. Now, if I say about it, currency and not currency but the notes, that is 10 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, whatever note you see is been issued by whom? It is issued by RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, that is the central bank, and rest, that is 1 rupee coin, and your currencies, that is your coins, what we call, that is issued by FDI, that is Financial Department of Government of India. Finance Department of Government of India. It is issued by Finance Department of Government of India. This can come for MCQ. Look over here. Central issues currencies. Currency consists of paper notes and coins. In India, Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank, the apex bank. MCQ, again not here in the bank chapter. Of the issues, note in the denominations of 2000, 500, 150, 20, 10. The 1 rupee note and the coins are issued by Finance Department of Government of India. Next is demand deposits created by commercial bank. The bank deposits are prominent component of money supply. Commercial bank create credit from the primary deposits of money received from the public. Credit is created in the form of deposits called option MCQ derived or secondary deposit. This can come to MCQ, this can come to MCQ, right? Next we have to see the money aggregates. Important, three types of money aggregates are there: M1, M2 and M3. You must have seen M4 also, you must have seen M5 also, but in your syllabus particularly there are only three aggregates, that is M1, M2 and M3. We have to look after only and only these three aggregates. So M1 is all about what? Currency plus demand deposits plus other deposits. MCQ, again, which of the following is stands for M1? So yes, it is what? Currency plus demand deposits plus other deposits. So this can come to your MCQ, right? Also your M1 is called as narrow money. I know it is not mentioned over here, but this can be a point of MCQ for you people and an additional information for you people. Obviously, at the end of this chapter, I'll be making you write what is narrow money, what is broad money. So that will be, it will be easy for you to understand it and go through the topics as well. So yes, M1 is currency plus demand deposit plus other deposit, is also called as narrow money. Second, M2 is equal to M1 plus time liability portion of saving deposits with bank, certificates of deposit issued by bank plus term maturing within 1 year. 1 year wala point will come in your M2 and over 1 year will come in your M3. So M3 is equal to so sorry M3 is equal to M2 plus term deposit over 1 year maturity plus call or term borrowing of bank. In India, M3 money is used as broad money. So your two MCQs can be asked to you people. First is which is important aggregate. So M1 is your important aggregate. The right answer is M1, which is also called as narrow money. Second MCQ, which aggregate is used commonly? So that is M3, that is your broad money. This is your narrow money. Clear everyone? Done, right? So let's go. So that is all about your aggregates. Next is value of money. Very interesting topic. The purchasing power of money is called value of money. It is nothing but exchange value. How much of goods and services can be obtained in the exchange of units of money is called as value of money. That is, I am giving you one product. This is, for example, this is your pen, and I am giving you this product. I am exchanging you this product, and in return you are giving me the value of this product. That is, how much worth is this product all about, right? So you are giving me the price. We have already seen the MCQ before also. Value of money is also called as price, right? So yes, you in exchange you are giving me the value of this particular product. That is, for example, you are giving me 10 rupees of this particular pen. So for example, like you are having 100 pens, okay? Sorry, you are having 100 rupees, right? One pen is of 10 rupees. So you can take how much pens? 10 pens, right? This is the value of a particular pen, है ना? This is the value of a particular pen. This is the price of a particular pen, right? Exactly. So let's go. I'll tell you while I've given this example. The value of money mainly depends upon the price level. The inverse value of price is called value of money, which means that this is the price. How much you are able to purchase when the price is 10 rupees, you are able to purchase 10 pens differently, right? But if the price increases to, for example, 25 rupees, you will be able to purchase only and only 4 pens. Again, this is your value of the pens. So this says if the price increases, the value of that particular product or the money decreases. So it is said that there is the inverse relationship between price and value of money. There is the inverse relationship between the price and the value of money. I hope you got this, right? So here it is mentioned, as it is mentioned, the value of money mainly depends upon the price level. The inverse value of price is called value of money. Next, types of value of money. What do you mean by that? You have two types of money, the value of money, exchange of value of money. That is, first is internal, second is external. Internal is all about transferring and exchanging it in domestic way only, and external is all about domestic to foreign, right? So come. How much goods and services can be obtained in exchange of units or money domestically is called as internal exchange value. Second external exchange value is how much foreign currency can be obtained in the exchange of unit of domestic currency is called as external exchange value. So these are again the two type of values of exchange. Everything you can see it, you're getting it in a two types of way. Next is forms of money. Very important. Again, there are 4 forms of money: cash money, credit money. Second is other financial assets. That is example is UTI and insurance money. Next is paper money and coins, and last is mere money and money substitute. That is called as bank check. That is called as again fiduciary money. Right? I hope it is clear. Next, just to make sure, the next topic which we are going to study is all about, different types of laws, which is going to be very important for you people, because one MCQ can be expected from all the above laws, which we are going to study further. So let's go and let's move. I hope the topic which we have studied till now has been clear to you people, and if there is any doubt, you can obviously contact on the class number as well. You can see on the scroller as well that you can see the class number, so you won't face any difficulty in that. And I hope the chapter has been seen very interesting and very easy as well, right? So yes, let's go. Next topic is Gresham's law. Gresham's law. Here you have to keep 2 to 3 MCQs in your mind. Direct MCQs are asked over here. I usually tell my students, where comes Gresham's law, there comes bimetallism. I say to my students all the time, where comes Gresham's law, there comes bimetallism. That is two metals, gold and silver. For example, where comes Gresham's law, there comes bimetallism, right? So let's go. Statement you have to read very carefully, yeah? Because MCQs have been asked between the lines as well. Many people expect that the MCQs which are behind your module or something like that, from there only you will be getting all the questions. No, it's not like that. Between the lines MCQs are also been asked, so make sure that you, as I am making you read a single word from here, you also have to make sure that once we are done with this lecture, you need to revise it consistently, and you have to make sure that you have to read every single point, every single line, every single word. And why I'm making you mark some important points is just because at the time of exam, when you are having 2 hours, you cannot read completely every single word to word, right? So you'll have to read only the important points. So the marked MCQ or the marked lines will be helpful for you at the time of the exam. Now you have to read every single word, each single word. Okay, so let's go. The law states that bad money drives good money out of circulation. What they have said, bad money drives good money out of circulation. That is, they keep bad money and they remove the good money whichever is needed. They remove it as of now, so that the bad money comes into work, the bad money comes into existence, right? This is true in the case of bimetallism, where two metal standards, that is gold and silver, operated side by side. In such a case, one metal currency drives the other out of circulation. It also means cheap money drives out near money. Once we are done with this topic, I'll make sure that we'll write all about cheap money, dear money, near money, and everything, right? So you need not worry about it. I'll make you write all the small topics. This means that if country uses both, if they use metal money, that is, if they have gold and silver, and they are also using paper money, people prefer to use paper money and people hold metal money. Why they hold metal money? Because the gold and silver in future can increase the price and we can sell it in the high prices whatever exists in the market. It can be any of the value, right? So you hold this money, you keep this money with you, you remove that money only when you need it and not now, right? So people hold metal money and people use paper money, right? So this is basically a bad money which drives good money out of circulation. I hope you got it, right? So yes, here it is said that the country uses both money as well as metal money. The people use the paper money and hold the metal money. Next, quantity theory of money, very important at the basis of MCQ. Quantity theory of money has been given by 3 people. First which we are looking for is your Irving Fisher. Second is for cash balance approach by Cambridge University, and third is by Keynes. 3 different types of quantity theory have been given, and there is no point of confusion because every single theory stands for some specification which will help you to guess it right away that which theory are the examiner talking about and which theory we need to go with through, right? So first theory is by Irving Fisher, right? So what does he says? He explains about the value of money which we have seen before. Irving Fisher gave an equation of the value of money, that is, Irving Fisher used an equation that is MV is equal to PT. What does it say? MV is equal to PT. MV is equal to PT. This is the equation which you have to keep in your mind. Make sure that you keep it in your mind, but going forward more easily, they have explained that MV is equal to money supply and PT is equal to money demand. That is the money which I need, I get the supply. That is jitna, I mean to say that the amount of money you are demanding, the amount of money is been getting supplied, where we say that your demand is equal to supply, which means equilibrium. We called it as equilibrium when your demand is equal to your supply, right? So how much money has been supplied? Only the money which has been demanded, that money only has been supplied, right? Now let's go more detail, where M is equal to money supplied issued by legal authority. We have seen who is issuing the money. One is RBI, one is FDI. They are issuing the currencies, right? Second is velocity of money. Now what do you mean by velocity of money? That is the speed of the transferring of money. Like for example, if I am having 500 rupees, I am giving this, you have paid me for, as of now, you have paid it for your some books, right? You have paid 500 rupees for books and you have given me 500 rupees. Now that 500 rupees I have paid it to a vegetable vendor, and the transfer of money, that is the velocity of money, was number one from you to me, number two is from me to vegetable vendor, third velocity, that is third transfer from money when from vegetable vendor to, you can say, some hospital maybe, so that will be again the third velocity, third term of velocity. So the money is being transferred from one person to another, second person to third person to fourth person, and fourth to fifth, like for example fifth to sixth, and that sixth person make sure that that money has been saved and that money is not being transferred from him to some other person, right? So there is n number of velocity of the money. There is no limit for that, right? Next P is the price level. We have already seen prior basis that your price level is inverse to your value of money. And last is your total output. Fishers use the equation to show the relationship between money supply and price level as directly proportional. Yeah, here the Irving have given a new equation, that is MV is equal to PT, and they have said that there is the direct relationship between money supply and price level. If the money supply rises, price level also increases. Next, the rate of change in the money supply is equal to the rate of change in the price. They have said here only na, that jitna money supply is changing, the same price level is also changing. The same price level will also change. Now, here are the assumptions which Irving has given. Before that, there are some main important points which I've studied before also, but again we need to read it, so we'll be reading it again. Here they have given that there is a direct relationship between money supply and price level, as mentioned here before. Secondly, they have said that there is an inverse relationship between money supply and value of money. We have already seen this as well, na? We have already seen this prior only. Sorry, we have seen this, but even this is equal to that only. There is an inverse relationship between price level and value of money. So where comes value of money, there comes indirect relationship. I hope you got it, right? This is the way which you have to keep in your mind. Where comes value of money, there comes indirect relationship. It can be your money supply or it can be your price level as well. Where comes what? Bacha log, where comes what? Where comes value of money, there comes indirect relationship. Now there are some assumptions, and you all know in economics where there are assumptions, there are criticisms as well. So yes, assumptions, they have said that velocity of money is constant. They are saying that if I've got the money from you people, what I will do is I will save it. I will save it. Is it possible? At times it can be possible, at times it is not possible, right? The transfer can be done from one person to another, second person to third person to fourth person to, it can be infinite time as well. The last person, what he wants, he will do it, right? So they have said that it is constant, it is not constant, it is completely changeable. Next, they have said that the output is constant. Oh my God, how would you produce it and how would you sell it if the output is constant? This theory assumes, assumptions is all about, is it happening? No, it is not happening, but it is been assumed that it has been happening, right? So yes, third point is this theory assumes the money demand for transactional purpose only. That is, they are saying that money keeps on transferring from one person to another. People don't, people only keep on doing the transaction. People don't save the money. Can it be can it be right? No, you have given me the money, you have transferred your money to me, and I thought of saving it. Simple. I didn't transfer it to someone else again, so there doesn't exist any velocity, right? So it is not true always that it has been transactions has been done. I can save the money, right? So this is also completely assumptions. And if you see in the criticism, it has been said that the transactional purpose, it is used for transactional purpose, and that too in the form of cash only. They have said it in a criticized way, right? So yeah, let's go, let's see. Criticism: Fisher's equation is abstract and mathematical truism. It does not explain the process by which M affects P, right? What other people, so many people criticize them, right? So what people are saying now, that this is just a mathematical truism. Irving has just given the mathematical equation, and he have not explained it completely in the further way, that how your price has been getting affected, how your money supply has been getting affected. He has just given the equation and he has just stopped the thing. So many people are criticizing that thing, that giving equation is only not the solution. You'll have to explain the law again and further as well. So this is first criticism which you can see. Second is, they are saying that the money which you have got, you completely use it in your purchasing purpose. You don't save any money. Is it possible? No. People can save money. At times people can use some of the money from their portion, their part, but not completely. If I am earning something today, I won't completely waste my money, or I won't completely use my money in purchasing some or the other commodity or the product or getting some services. I will obviously save some of the part of the money by which it can help me in my future further as well, right? So it is completely it is said that it is unreal. No one spends the money the moment he earns it. So the concept of full employment is myth. There is natural rate of unemployment in every country, and if there is employment, a country can increase national output by bringing those factors which are not available within economy from abroad. They're saying if you're having money, now you're saying that you're having money. No one is unemployed. Everyone is fully employed. So if you need any resources, you buy it from abroad. Simple. It can be expensive. It can be of any price, but everyone is employed. So I think you need to buy it. It is the criticism which other people are seeing. And last, it is presumed, which I have told you before only. It is presumed that money is used for transaction only. Hence, the theory is often referred to as a cash transaction theory. This ignores the other roles of money. Next, quantity theory of money. This was first theory which Irving has given you people. So you have to keep it in your mind. Second theory is Irving theory. Second theory is the cash balance approach by Cambridge theory. Important theory again. Equation is given same by him. Here the Cambridge professor give another equation which explains the value of money, where he have said that M is equal to PKT. Where he has said that M is equal to PKT. The Irving has said that MV is equal to PT. Here the quantity theory of money given by cash balance approach, that is by Cambridge University, says that M is equal to PKT, where M stands for money supply for specific period of time. P is price level, K is cash balance, that is part of total income, and T is your total output. You can see a sort of saving that can be done. That is what does this says is all about, that M is equal to P into K into T. That is, they are using the money for any purpose of purchasing of a commodity. They are using the money for saving. They are using the money for total output, right? So however, Fisher versions of the Cambridge version of the quantity theory are not exactly the same. Why it has been confused by many students, saying that, ma'am, here also M is equal to PKT is been used. Also in the Irving they have used MV again. MV is equal to PT. So what is the difference? There is a small difference in it. Actually the difference is very funny, you can say, but yeah, there is a difference because it is but obvious. They have said, what is the difference I am talking about? They have said that the output which you have, for example, made in 2025, you have made some product, you have produced some products, right? You have produced some goods in 2025. So what other people are saying now, what they are saying, what Fishers or the difference is that the output which we have produced in 2022 is but obvious can be used in 2026, right? The output which you have produced, like for example, you have produced this in December, so you will throw it out or what? No, na. So you will use this product in 2026. Simple, right? Now this is first difference. Second is the goods which you are selling in 2025 doesn't mean, or it's not important that the goods which you are selling in 2025 have been produced in 2025 only. It can so happen that it must have produced in 2024 as well. So you are using it because it is usable. You can use it as much time you can want. You can sell the products, you can do whatever you want, and you can obviously get money from those products by selling those products. So these are the two difference. Let's see, the total transactions in the market in a year T may not be exactly the same as total output of the year. Why? Right? One reason for this is all the output of a year may not come to the market in that year. On the other hand, a good sold in a given year may not have been produced in that year. It may be unsold goods of the previous year. If we ignore the small difference T and Y, that is T is equal to Y, then a comparison of two equation of MV is equal to PT and M is equal to PMPY shows that, KPY shows that. Let's see the equation. What is the equation? What is the difference sort of thing? We need to see, very important. Just a second, hold on. Okay, so what they have said that this is one of the equation. Just a second, so sorry bachalo. Yeah, this is one of the equation where they have said that MV is equal to PT. Next, one more equation is there, that is M is equal to KPY, right? M is equal to KPY. Now, what you can do is, you can consider this, right? You can consider this. Yeah, everyone see it clearly. These are the two equations which they have given us. Why I have written your Y? Because they have already said that it can be assumed that your T and your Y are equal. M is equal, T is equal to Y. So the cash balance approach have told that M is equal to PKT, right? Right. They have told PKT, but I have written, instead of K, I have written Y. Now I am going to insert this M in MY equation, that is M stands for KPY into V equal to PT, right? Clear? Now I am cutting off this PY and PT because T is equal to Y, I can do that, right? What remains is K into Y, right? Now you all know that when this multiply, like here it is multiply, when it goes to equal to wala part, it becomes division. So K is equal to 1 upon V. K is equal to 1 upon V. K is equal to 1 upon V, right? So this is the equation which we can see over here. K is equal to 1 upon V, or V is equal to vice versa 1 upon K. This is because of the fact that as greater proportion of income is kept as cash balance with the public, velocity of money will fall and vice versa. Therefore, M is equal to KPY, that is equal to 1 upon V into PT. Therefore, MV is equal to PT. Thus, the Cambridge K, Fisher's V are the reciprocal of each other. Hence, 1 upon K can be taken to be the velocity of circulation of money. Strictly speaking, of course, we should distinguish between T and Y. Therefore, Y is called transactional velocity and 1 upon K is called income velocity. Keep in your mind, MCQ, it can come in your MCQ. 1 upon K is called income velocity and V is called as transactional velocity. The equation of K is equal to 1 upon V can be said at V is equal to 1 upon K. right? Clear? So this is all about your Cambridge theory, and I hope that your Cambridge theory seems very interesting. I thought it very interesting personally, and I hope it was interesting for you people as well. And I hope that you got to know that how the equation has been derived and what is the difference between two of them. Okay. So last theory is quantity theory by Keynes. Keynes have said all about the money supply affects the rate of interest, right? This is the important MCQ which you have to keep it in your mind. When the money supply increases, rate of interest will be decreased. Obviously, when there is more and more money in the hands of the people, obviously they don't need money, and obviously they won't go to a bank, they won't take loan, and but obvious again the bank won't make the rate of interest high. They will obviously decrease, and it is vice versa. If there is less amount of money supply, obviously the rate of interest will be more, they will be increased, because people will be in a need of money and people will go to banks or the third party. They will take the interest and they'll charge a rate of interest being very high, right? So the Keynes have said this, nothing else, nothing new in that. It leads to increase of investment level of employment, income, demand, price level, etc. When the price level increases, there is a decrease in the value of money. Again same na guys, we have seen before also, there is an inverse relationship between money supply and price level, right? There is an inverse relationship between money supply, value of money, and price level. According to Keynes, the rate of interest play a dominant role in determination of the value of the money. The Keynesian version of the quantity theory integrates monetary theory with the general theory of value. In a broader sense, the term inflation refers to the persistent rise in the general price level. MCQ. Like if you can see, when you have no money or when you have no price in your hand, there exists a term called as inflation, where you need more amount of money for purchasing a commodity or a goods or services. Some of the important definitions of inflation are: Crowther defined inflation as a state in which the value of money is falling but is the price rising. Samuelson, according to Samuelson, inflation denotes a rise in the general level of price. So there are different types of, you can say definitions. You don't have to learn it, but you have to just keep in your mind that who have said which of the following definitions, nothing else, right? Last topic of this chapter you can see, and you can, within 1.5 hours the chapter has been done. The chapter is way easy, I am telling you once again, it is way easy, right? So yes, causes of inflation. The major primary causes of inflation is when demand for a commodity in a market exceeds its supply, the excess demand will push up the price. We all know that. What is they are trying to tell is, when your demand is more than your supply. Like for example, you have demanded me 300 goods, yeah, right, and I have supplied only 200 goods. So what will be the effect on price? But obvious, the price will increase. So when there is a demand of commodity, I can say, or I must say that when there is more demand of a commodity, the price will be rising. When there is more demand of a commodity, the price will be rising, and this will cause a type of inflation which is called as demand pull inflation. So sorry, this can come in your MCQ. Next, when factor prices rises, like for example, cost of production, which factors? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. When the cost of production rises, the cost of the price also rises. Cost push inflation. It is called as cost push inflation. Now let's discuss some other more causes of inflation. The first is increase in the public spending. Government spending is an important part of total spending in a modern economy. It is an important determinant of aggregate demand. In the less developed economies, government expenditure has shown an upward trend. This has created inflationary pressure on the economy. They are spending more. as they are spending more, the particular demand of a commodity keeps on increasing, and once the demand has been increased of a commodity, the price is also getting increased. Secondly, deficit financing of government spending. See, government want to make expenditure, government want to spend more. Now they are not having any money, they are not having enough money so that they can spend. So what are they trying to do, or what does they do is like they make a demand of a commodity, and they make so much demand that the price automatically gets rises. And if government wants that, obviously the price will rise, and this will lead to inflation. Government spending increases beyond what can be financed by taxation. They are not having enough money, but then they want to do the expenditure, so they are trying to, get into the deficit finance of government spending. In order to able to incur the extra expenditure, the government resorts to deficit financing. For instance, it prints money and spends it. This add in process of inflation. Again same, production process and the supply could be increased freely. Deficit money does not lead to inflation. Deficit money does not lead to inflation, right? Next, they are trying to say that if the supply is more, obviously it won't lead to, it won't lead to deficit financing, but the supply should be more, and the supply will only be able to be more if the demand is less for that and the price is less. Next, increase velocity of circulation. Total use of money is equal to money supply by government into velocity of circulation of money. In boom phase, people spends more money at a faster rate. Obviously, you are getting the product. You are having money. You are getting the product in a very less price. So you are purchasing it the way you want. You are circulating your money. You don't think at that time that you need to save it, right? But obviously in many problems you try to save it so that it can come to the help in the future. The velocity of circulation of money is increasing. Population growth, it increases total demand in the market. More population, more demand of a commodity, more demand of a commodity, price will rise, which leads to inflation. The pressure of excess demand will create inflation. Holding, now this part has been done, purposefully. What people do is now they try to keep a commodity, they try to hide it from the market. They try to stockpiling the things. They try to keep the stock of that particular commodity. They create the hype of that particular commodity, and then they come into the market. Then they bring that particular commodity into the market, and they sell it at as much price they want, because obviously from long time it was not provided in the market. From long time it was not available in the market, which has been done purposely. So it was not provided in the market. So what does other people do is that when it comes to the market, whatever price has been said, they just purchase it if they want it badly, right? So yeah, excess demand is sometimes artificially created by hoarders. They stockpile commodities, they do not release them to the market. This leads to excess demand and inflation. Next is genuine shortage. If the factors of production, and this is purposefully, but this is really genuine, right? Production will be affected, supply will be less than demand, price will rise. Exports, if total output of commodity is not sufficient to meet domestic and foreign demand, then export will create inflation in the domestic economy. Here they are saying that you don't have much to export, right? Obviously, then it is but obvious that there is a high demand in the domestic economy. Now what many people do is that, as hoarders are doing it purposefully, many people what they do is that they produce the goods and they export it, and they make the shortage of that commodity in the domestic market. As there is a shortage of good in the domestic market, people get very that particular commodity in a very less way, right? So what happens is that people directly give the money as much as been asked from the seller. That is all about exports. Trade union here increase the wage, they increase the cost of production. This leads to inflation. Tax reduction, what happens now? Here government tries to be goody only in start, but not all the time, only in start, right? What government tries is they reduce the taxes. Now if the tax has been reduced, the demand gets increased, the price has been increased, and this leads to inflation. This leaves more money in people's hand. This leads to inflation if there is no corresponding increase in the production. Imposition of indirect tax, this has been done as direct tax. This is for indirect tax. Government may impose indirect taxes, that is such as excise duty, value added tax, etc. Then producers of the seller raise the product price to keep their profit unchanged. Next, price rise in international market. The imported price of some commodities, a factor of production, may rise in the world economy. If the price of the factor of the production is high, the normal price is high. If the normal price is high, it creates cost push inflation, right? Just a second, I'll show you. See, they create what? Cost push inflation. Going forward with the last topic, non-economic reasons. For instance, at times of natural calamities, crops are destroyed, reducing the supply of agriculture products. It is all about climatic conditions and all. Like for example, you can say COVID. At that particular point of time, we were needing many commodities, so there were a demand of that commodities and they were selling it very higher prices, right? Because the supply was less, so they were selling at many higher prices and people were purchasing it because they were in need at that particular point of time. So natural calamities or any of the thing, if it is destroyed, then obviously prices of this commodity tends to increase and this will lead to inflation. So here we have completed the chapter and I hope that this chapter has been like seems to be very easy to you people. I hope that the chapter has been completely cleared for you people, and obviously we'll be going forward with many of the things. This is the first part of the chapter of macroeconomics, right? And so yes, here we are done with this chapter, but yes, as promised, some of the important points you have to note down with me, specifying the dear money, the near money, the narrow money, and the broad money. So yes, everyone just write it down so that you know that will help you for MCQs, nothing else. That is not mentioned in your study module, but then yes, I think that it is important, so you'll have to write it down. So सबसे first is your, so sorry, narrow money. Which is your M1 in your syllabus. The most liquid portion of the money supply and easily accessible. Just a second, so sorry. Demand deposits like checking and current accounts. Like checking and current accounts. Next is your broad money. In our syllabus, M3 is your broad money. It is the most comprehensive measure of money supply in economy. Including all highly liquid cash and near money assets. And near money assets. Now third will be, what do you mean by near money? What do you mean by near money. Also known as quasi money or cash equivalent. Refers to highly liquid or non-cash assets that can be easily converted, quickly and easily converted into actual cash. Like example, CDs, treasury bills. This will be available, or you can say that this comes in your chapter money market wala. So yes, again an important part, CDs matlab you can say your certificates of deposits, right? So this will be in your money market wala chapter, complete detail. Last is dear money. Also called as tight money. Describes the situation in economics where borrowing is expensive due to high interest rate, making it difficult. Again saying not in your syllabus, but yeah, I just want my students to know all this, isliye I am making you write all the things. You can pause the video and you can write it down, right? So yes, this is all different four types of money again, which again I'm telling not in your syllabus, but then yes, as you have seen, the level of the examination is getting attempts by attempt, the level is completely increasing. So yes, I want all my students to get it done in a proper way. So these are four different types: narrow money, broad money, near money, and your dear money. And in this only we have seen the cheap money as well, which is completely opposite to the dear money. Going forward, we are going to look after the MCQs of your module, which is already there in your study material. So let's go with the MCQs. And yes, here are your MCQs in your module. The MCQs of your money chapter, bank chapter, and money market is completely in this only. So don't get confused with any of the thing. You just need to watch the lecture, and I'll make you update that which of the chapter is of which question is of which chapter, so that it will be clear and possible for you to read it once at the time of exams. So let's go. The very first question: which of the following is the near money? Now only we have seen types. What do you mean by near money? So bill of exchange, saving bonds, gilt edge securities, all of the three. So your right answer over here is all of the three. Chapter name money, M I am writing, ठीक है. Optional money is a legal tender money, non-legal tender money, limited tender money, and fully bodied money. So the right answer is non-legal tender money. Fiat money, which we have seen, is the optional money, which is called as legal tender money. Which of these functions which of the function does serve when they use to measure the price of different goods and services? The right answer is option number B. Many students are confused on this particular topic. Many students write the option as standard of value, because here we have written money serves used as a measure, so they write standard of value. But no, the right answer is option number B, that is medium of exchange. Which of this affects the money for demand for money, real income, price level, rate of interest? And option number D is A and C. So the right answer is option number D, that is both A and C, the real income and the rate of interest. Next, which of this would lead to fall in the demand for money? Inflation, increase in real income, increase in real rate of interest, and increase in the wealth. The right answer is option number C, that is increase in real rate of interest. I'm so sorry, but yeah, make sure you write your M, that is, this is the question from your chapter money. Just make sure that you write it, है ना? Next, supply of money refers to total money held by the public. I don't have to read the other options, but yeah, make sure whenever you read the MCQs, you have to read the options as well. So total money held by the public. The right answer is option number A. Next, which is the apex bank for agriculture? This is the bank wala chapter. So till now, till question number 6, we have seen that all the MCQs are from your chapter money. Let's go, because further also you will be getting the questions from chapter money. Just a second, hold on. Yeah, here it is. Let's go. Cost push inflation arises due to persist entry in factor cost, mismatch between demand and supply of commodities, combined phenomenon of demand pull and cost push inflation, increase in the price of precious metals. So it is because of what? It is because of persist entries in factor cost. Next, which of this is one of the causes of inflation? We have seen it. There are many causes of inflation. Increase in the public expenditure, deficit financing, increase in administrative prices, all of the three. The right answer is deficit financing. Just read these questions properly, they read the options properly, and it is not always important that where you see the option as all of the above, you will get all of the above the right answer. It is not all the time important. So make sure that you read the options carefully. Deficit financing means deficit, budgetary deficit by borrowing, and financing budgetary deficit by printing money. The right answer is option number C. The last question, inflationary conditions may coexist with which of the following situation? Increase in the factor price, increase in employment opportunity, growth in GDP and export, all of the three. The right answer is option number D, all of the three. So we have seen the MCQs. You can see we have seen total 10. Fill in the blanks of money, sorry, MCQs you can say. Just a second, hold on. We have seen 10 MCQs of this chapter from the module. Yeah, one more thing which you have to make sure and you have to keep in your mind is, once we are done with this MCQ, you need to read the MCQs, and after that you can see true or false as well. And yes, you also will be getting the question named as which of the following is true or false, or the statement must be given and then you have to write, is it true or is it false? So yeah, according to Walker, money is what money does. Yes, it is true. Money is treated as means of trade and commerce. Yes, 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 it is true again. Examples of NFBI are cash money and credit money. It is fall, it is UTI wala option. The four major types of money which we have seen, not about the fiat money and the fiduciary money, not that, but after that which we have seen, it is all about that point. According to Cambridge equation, if K is more than the value of money, if K is more than the value of money should increase, but obvious it is true. According to Keynes, the rate of interest cannot decide the value of money. It cannot decide the value of money. It is fall. It can decide the value of money. Next, there is a direct relationship between price level and value of money. It is fall. As I've already said, where there is value of money, there is inverse relationship with every of the things. During the inflation period, borrowers will gain. The right answer is option number I mean to say it as true. Obviously, inflationary borrowers will gain. Public expenditure comes under the monetary policy. The right answer is false. It doesn't come under monetary policy. Tax policy come under fiscal policy. So yes, it is true. Make sure that you mark these two questions and you keep in your mind. Next, M1 is considered as the most important measure. It is true. It's not given in your syllabus, but as I've told you that it is important, I just told you because I know that any type of MCQs can be asked, and I've already noted it before, and you can see that that type of MCQs has been asked to you people, right? So yeah, you have to make sure that you need to listen whatever I say. So same either ways, we have completed the true or false, and we have completed 10 true or false, and rest is your fill-ups, you can say. So your fill-ups is also important. It is just that you will be given the options, and rest, when the options will be there in front of you, you will be able to answer it. But I think once you are done with these with the topic, even without the options, this can be possible for you people. So yeah, let's go. Money supply. Money supply means anything passes general acceptable. It is what? General acceptability, right? Next, bonds, government securities refer to which type of money? We have seen in the MCQ as well, the very first MCQ, near money. Dash market is also called the credit market. It is called the money market. This is not our chapter wala thing, but yeah, we should know because later on we'll be looking after it. If someone keeps some money for bad dates, the demand for money is known by motive of money. It is known as precautionary. Make sure you do it, you don't leave it. Please, I request my students, make sure you do it. The spelling is wrong actually, so sorry. You have to write it any which ways you're going to get the options, but then do. It is precautionary, right? Dash function of money leads to saving and investment. Standard of deferred payment. The inverse value of price is called, you know it already, we have seen it many times already, value of money. According to Fisher's theory of money is demanded for dash purpose. It is demanded for transaction purpose. Broad money is usually the sum of M1 plus M2, that is called as M3. Broad money is called as M3. Broad money is called as M3. So we have seen your 8 MCQs, 8 fill in the blanks. Let's see whether there are more fill in the blanks over here. I can see yes, yes, yes. Okay, it's just a second, wait on. The primary functions of money are of two types. The money supply affects the rate of interest. When the money supply increases, the rate of interest will be decreased. This is explained by, oh, so sorry. This is explained by Keynes. I don't know, but yeah. This is explained by Keynes. We have seen this third type of, you can say, this is third type of quantity theory of demand. Next, cash money is created by, it is created by central bank. We don't have to see this question right now over here. We will be looking at the time of bank. Money is what money does is been said by Volcker. The dash states that bad money drives good money out of circulation. Who state that? Gresham's law. The Gresham's law. Quantity theory of money was explained by Irving Fishers. Right, and I think we are done with the questions as well. How much fill in the blanks we have done, bachalo? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have done 13 questions over here. Complete 13 questions. I can see we can write 32 and 34 also, 33 also. What do you think? What do you think? Let's go. Let's go. Bonds and government securities refers to near money. It refers to what? It refers to near money, right? Yeah, and the very last question, public expenditure comes under fiscal policy. Looking after the options, yeah, the right answer is option, that is the right answer is fiscal policy. So here we have done, I think, 15 MCQs. So total, if I tell you people, we have done total 35 questions of your money chapter, and I think the chapter seems to be very, very, very easy. Again, I'm telling you, at least after solving the MCQs, it must be yeah, you are trying to able to solve the MCQs. I hope that, and I hope that you like the lecture as well. Do like the video, do share the video, and do make sure that you subscribe the channel as well. Do share it with your friends. And as I've told you all, you can see the WhatsApp community in the description. Also, you can see the notes. The notes can be available, the notes are available in the application as well, so you can see the process as well. So do not miss, and yes, do share it with your friends. Stay updated to our YouTube channel, because many more things we are going to bring for you people, where the lectures which we are going to provide are going to be in complete English, 100% English, and where we'll be covering many of the things for you people, which will help you to score good marks in your CMA exams. And yes, that's it from my side. See you all. Bye bye. Lots of love. Keep studying.